Do you ever feel overwhelmed by the terms used in prompt engineering? Have you ever taken a look at the OpenAI documentation and haven't really known where to begin? Today, I'd like to go over some of the core and fundamental aspects of prompt engineering, and in the process, try to demystify some of it. This video will be covering the definition of tokens, the context window, the system prompt, and the chat history. Knowing these fundamentals will greatly help in crafting more complex prompts by providing a clearer understanding of how ChatGPT interprets and perceives its interactions with the world. By leveraging this knowledge, my hope is that you'll begin to see the opportunities between these interactions that will allow you to create your own custom GPTs specific to your needs. To begin, let's start with the very basics. What is a token? Let's look at the official OpenAI documentation and see what it has to say. Language models read and write text in chunks called tokens. In English, a token can be as short as one character or as long as one word. For example, A and apple are both complete tokens. If we look at the sentence, like and subscribe, this sentence is encoded into 4 separate tokens. If you've ever wondered why large language models have trouble counting letters and words, this is one of the reasons why. To large language models, words are perceived to be composed of tokens, not characters. The consequence of this is that just because a set of instructions has less characters does not necessarily mean that it has less tokens. For example, info and information are both a single token, while the all caps information is composed of 2 tokens. Usually what I find is the more commonly spelled the word, the less token heavy it will be. While using all caps does seem to slightly increase attention, I tend to find that there are almost always better and more token efficient options. With that out of the way, let's move on to the context window. A context window is the grand total of all the text data that a large language model has access to in a specific instance. For ChatGPT, at the time of this recording, the context window is composed of 2 major parts: the chat history and the system prompt. It should be noted that the separation of these components are specific to the ChatGPT architecture. While there are other programs that similarly feed this information to language models in this way, raw large language models typically only have a context window without any real distinction between the data contained within it. Now let's take a closer look at the components of the context window. The chat history is the easiest to understand. This component contains the interactions between the user and the chatbot. This is typically the only component that the user actually sees when interacting with ChatGPT. The chat history is loaded at the end of the context window, with the newest messages appearing at the bottom and the oldest messages being pushed to the top. A unique feature of the chat history is that it will constantly grow with the conversation until it fills up all available space in the context window that is not already used by other components. When this limit is reached, the oldest tokens are removed to make room for new tokens. It's important to note that the chat history has the lowest priority tokens. This means that the larger the system prompt you have, the less room there is for the chat history to grow into. In practice, this means that a custom GPT with a large system prompt will forget things more quickly than one with a small system prompt. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and dive into what a system prompt actually is. A system prompt is a special area within the context window that has completely static tokens. This means that no information can be added or removed from the system prompt after the conversation has begun for that instance. The system prompt is located at the very beginning of the context window and is hidden from the user. Information contained within the system prompt varies greatly, but typically serves as a guide for custom GPTs on how to behave when interacting with the user. And that just about covers everything you need to know about the context window when it comes to prompt engineering. With this information in your tool belt, I really hope that this will set the stage for my next few videos going over complex prompts in more detail. My next video specifically will be the tutorial for how to create the message counting prompt from scratch, as well as the ideas behind them. All links to the documentation and the systems used in this video will be provided in the description below. If you thought this video was interesting or useful, any likes and subscribes would be greatly appreciated. If you have any suggestions for future videos or thoughts about this one, all comments are welcomed. Thank you so much for taking some time to be on this journey with me. Have a wonderful day.